Alrighty, morning guys. Sturdy's out of the road. Just going to pull the heat up with some diesel, get that cranked up, get some temp in here because it froze overnight, so it's pretty cool. It's probably about freezing temperature or thereabouts. So yeah, we'll get that cranked up. We'll have a bit of a blow down or sweep out here just to try and get the dust down a little bit, let it settle for a wee while as the temp comes up. And then we'll give that inside a bit of wipe and that other little piece. I just got the old bonnet sitting there, or hood, just so I got something to match the colour with probably not so much critical this side, but it'll give me a gauge and then I know how much paint to put on the other side. Righty, so at the moment it's set at 20 degrees, but it's only at 5 degrees in here, so it's pretty cold. So we have to wait till we at least get up into the mid-teens or thereabouts before we even think about painting. So we'll let the tent come in here. We'll start just blowing this down and just giving it a wipe down and whatever. Make sure it is clean, get all the dust and shit off it. We'll have to let, now that I've swept, I'm not going to go much further than this because it's much point. Like there's all this dust and right over here, I'm not cleaning all that up. It's not being too stirred up, hopefully, by that. I don't have much freaking choice at the moment. But yeah, we'll give this a clean down and then we'll go from there. We'll check the temp again and whatever and just see. Once it gets up into those mid-teens, at least the temperature will be coming up. Won't be too bad. Like I've sprayed plenty of times with that going, and it's not ideal because it's a diesel heater, but it burns pretty clean. It's not ideal. Probably when I paint the top side of it, I'll turn it off, and by that stage it should be warmer outside anyway because the sun's up, but it's like still really low. It's just starting to break, like actually sun on the ground here. Like it's got high enough now. Front door. Like you can see that the sun's just breaking and it's just really shining on the ground. Here, like part of it's in the shadow and part of it's not, so we're only just really starting to get sun here now. It's still pretty cold. Like you can see that there's a little bit of frosting on the grass still. Like still a touch of it, so like it's only sort of just getting below or above freezing out here. But by the time we've got that sprayed on the inside and then let it sit for a while, it won't be too bad a temperature. Actually, yesterday it got to about 14 degrees C, which is not ideal, but it's not too bad. If we've got a bit of heat in here, it'll be easier to get warmer than that, if you know what I mean. And the paint should work reasonably well and all that sort of things, and the clear shouldn't go cloudy because you've got to be careful we don't spray clear too cold because it'll just go cloudy on you, or cloudy-ish, if you know what I mean. It's easier to have an issue, but yeah, we're not worried about spraying clear on the inside. We'll just get 2 or 3 coats of paint on the inside, get a feel for what it takes to get close to this colour. There's my dry bit from yesterday that I dabbed on there. It's not too bad for colour when it's dry, you know, and that's probably a bit thick, so hopefully a couple of 3 on the top side. We'll just have to see how it blends out and what the depth looks like to get a reasonable match. That's why I'm going to leave that there, just because I've got nothing else to go by. The vehicle's gone, so as long as I've got it on the vehicle and I'm spraying it on the vehicle, so yeah. And I've only got to paint that. Like, I'm not worried about the doors. They're going to be blocked out completely. You know, probably the odd scooch of whatever, something there, maybe a little bit of glazing putty or whatever, and then probably another 3 or 4 coats of primer and another block out, and then they'll probably be close to ready for a paint, just because they're not brand new panels. and they're going to be white, and it's down the track, you know. Like I said, I think yesterday, we'll probably end up painting them one weekend, you know, in the nearish future, like in a month or so. We'll just see, because I've got some other stuff to do for Dad too. We may end up with a whole car here, I don't know. It just depends what my other issue now is, once I get that duck in here, like that amphibious truck, they nicknamed him Duck. I think it's D-U-K-W is the way they writ it, but it's pronounced Duck. Once I get that in here, it's also going to be awkward to spray, because I don't want to cover that and fucking like a whole heap of overspray. It will have to be painted eventually, but like I don't want it covered in fucking overspray, so I'm going to have to try and work that out too. I may have to, if I'm doing any painting, get some big tarps and sling through here just to try and stop the worst of the drift. Just kind of a pain in the ass, but anyway, yeah. Anyway, we're up to 6, so yeah, we've got a bit of temp to climb yet. So yeah, I'll give this a wipe down and we'll check back with you. Also, again, I've had a couple more comments. People saying, "Oh, you need to get a mic." Yeah, I do. I really do. I know that. I've been one of those things I've been wanting to get for a long time, but it's just to have that spare. Really, $600 or $700 here in New Zealand to get a decent setup. You can buy those cheap ones off lots of eBay and Amazon. Like that's the worst thing with being here in New Zealand. The Amazon thing is okay, but to really get things off there, it's not that cheap for us. It's almost cheaper to buy something here. Well, it is really, depending on what it is. But yeah, it's the freight cost getting it here. It's probably not quite so bad for people in the US to buy stuff and send it to me, which Outlaw Garage has done that quite a bit. But for me to buy stuff from the US and buy it and ship it over here, just with my money, it becomes expensive. So I'm better off to try and buy it here, and either the DJI double mic kit, because I want to get a double mic kit. I don't want to buy a single mic kit. I could, but then you run into that issue of if it goes flat on me, then I don't have a backup, if you know what I mean. So I can have one charging and one not at any one time. And if I do have to have 2 people in here or something like that or whatever, I can mic 2 people up if we ever get to that sort of point. Hold on. Well, there goes my fucking heat. Fucking. I'm sure that guy's fucking diesel tank has got a fucking bug in it or something. Man, I just started pumping freaking fumes everywhere. I keep kicking it in and out and just pumping freaking shit everywhere. Fortunately, the sun's starting to come up, so we might better lift the temp a little bit with that. But oh man, you have to blow out this filter, I think. It's like there's a diesel tank on the back of that Hilux. I'm sure it's got like a fucking bug in it or something like that. Or I don't know. I just think I just got a sneaking suspicion. Like it's got a filter on the tank, and he does change it, but I'm fucking sure it's got like a bug or something in that fucking tank, because this thing shouldn't play up like it does. Like sometimes it can be really, really good if he's got like a fresh batch of fuel on it and you're getting the stuff off the top. It seems to be okay, but when obviously when that tank gets a bit low, and you go to fill it up off it, yeah, then it's when it starts fucking playing up. Anyway, I'll give this filter line a blowout and hopefully it fucking runs clean again. Righty, sorry about the noise. I'll fucking just mute this for a minute. Or pause it. Just watching a bit of Derek interview old DD Speed Shop, Dan. While I'm freaking just waiting on the temp to come up here, and I'm just doing a little bit of research on this. I haven't come across this brand before. So this is the auto thing, which is the clear, which is the same lot as that stuff. I didn't get the paint, so just where it come from. So yeah, I was trying to work this out, and I was like, oh, so it's just straight. This is the paint's basically single stage. It's the clear that's got the hardener in it. So this is a straight 1-to-1. It's been a while since I've sprayed anything like this. I can't remember. Oh, actually, Dad's bike tank was the last time I sprayed. Base coat, clear coat. Yeah, it was. It was the last time I sprayed it. So it's been a while, and I don't think it was anything like that. I think it was. Did it have hardener in it? Can't remember. I can't remember if it did either. I'm pretty sure the clear did, but I can't remember about the paint. It doesn't matter. But so yeah, this is 1-to-1 mix. I've never come across this brand. I just had to ring them up just to double check. I did a wee Google because I didn't come up with the fact sheet. Just come with the DG note for the dangerous goods for the deliverer. But yeah, this is 1-to-1, and the clear is I think it's 2-to-1. I think. Yeah, 2-to-1. Is it? No, it might be 4-to-1. Oh no, it's 2-to-1 because it's 500 mils in there. Yeah, so that's 2-to-1. But yeah, so I'll just mix up a small amount of that. I'm just waiting for it to get a wee bit warmer in here. We're only at 9 degrees C. I've blown all this off and given it a quick wipe down. Might just give it another bloody wipe. It's still a bit of dust and dirt and shit on it. I was just kind of waiting, so I'm just sort of watching this and doing a wee bit of research on that and giving it we'll give it a let's see, I'll give it a wipe down with that. Too much in there. Better put a bit more of me wax and grease in there, or this, whatever it is. It just says in there, yeah, silicone remover. And then I'll give them a garner I'll put a wee bit of thinners through that, and we'll just give it a wee wash out. Just double check that it's clean. So yeah, we'll give that a quick wipe. I'll just give it a blow. I'll give it a blown down and a wipe down with a rag just to get the dust off it. But yeah, I haven't done this yet. But yeah, and then we'll mix this up. At least this here, we're not going to have to. If I reduce it, I can probably. It shouldn't go hard in the gun if I mix a little bit extra up. I'm just thinking. Yeah, it'll only go off once it's on the panel. And I've got to wait 20 minutes. Once I've got it painted, I've got to wait 20 minutes before I can clear it on the other side. So that's not too bad. And it's probably about, probably good 15 minutes or 10 minutes between coats as well. So yeah, we'll keep idling around here. I can't do too much until we get a wee bit more heat in the shop, so we'll get in there. Right, let's spray. Right, so I've got me kind of a third on there. I guess I sort of blew one on and then I let it just flash for about a half a minute or a minute, or not very long. Basically, by the time I painted that, I just walked away for a wee bit, just left it, and then put another one on. Just what was left in the gun basically was enough to give it another, because I sprayed it that way, and then I just, whatever was left in the gun, I just sprayed it that way, and I blew around the edges before I done that just to make sure there was plenty of colour, and just blew out what was left in the gun basically. It doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure about colour match. this point. I'm hoping there's enough paint in there to do 4 on this, because that's kind of a light 3, I guess you'd call it. But I don't want to put any more on there. Doesn't look too bad. I think it'll be okay for underneath. You're not going to be looking at it, and like that's going to cover it, and then it's, you know, whatever. As long as it doesn't look real weird underneath. It's possibly a little light in places. I probably could redo with another one, but I'm a wee bit worried about a wee bit of lack of paint. But you only got 500 mils. Just going to wee look to see what's left in here, so I can just hopefully got enough. I'll put the phone down. Yeah, it should be okay. What I did, I just tipped what was left in that can into here, and then I tipped it back into a can. So yeah, I've got about what have we got in there? Trying to read that. About 300 mils left, so I must have used about 200 for start off. So I got about a third more, plus I got to put the same of reducer in there, so I'll end up with about a good 600. So it's a wee bit more than what that pot will take. So that should be okay. I should have plenty for the top. I'm not too worried about the bottom. It doesn't look too bad. It's possibly a little thin in spots, but you know, another part coat here or there probably wouldn't have gone astray. But I think for what you can see on the inside of this, you know, it's 1.5 dozen the other. It's not going to matter. You're not looking at it. It'll look decent when you open it. It's the odd spot where it's probably just looks a little thin, but I don't think it looks too bad. I think, yeah, we'll let this dry. I'm going to bugger off. We'll let this go off. I'll turn the heater down so it doesn't get too much hotter than what it is on now. Get out of the way. So we'll just, so it'll kick off at 15. It gets hotter than that. It's not really, it should be a wee bit warmer, but I just don't want to run out of diesel. Oh yeah, no, it should be alright. Or just, if it's cold later on when I'm trying to do clear and stuff, yeah. Because ideally, you know, you should be probably painting this at probably 20. You know, it's probably a nice minimum, but we're at 13 and we're blowing hot air around. It's like, you know, so it's slowly building up. I've actually got the other fan on over there too to try and help circulate it, just to keep the air moving, to keep the, you know, to stop the hot air from settling up there, if you know what I mean. But yeah, we'll bugger off and we'll come back. I don't know, 12:30 or something like that. Because I don't know, whatever it is now, it's about 11. So we'll bugger off for an hour and a half. That should give us enough time to cure, and so we can turn the fucking thing over, and we'll check it anyway, and then we'll yeah, I just gave it, you know, I didn't get too panicked there. We did that one first initial, and I just gave it a quick 2 coat, if you know what I mean. Again, doesn't really matter, it's the other side we've got to worry about. See, but yeah, as long as I can get enough colour on it to look close to this, I'll be happy. It's not gonna match very well anyway, but as long as it's reasonably close, you know. I've got this for comparison, so it is what it is. I don't think it'll be too bad. Just looking at that, if I can get about 4 coats on there, we'll go 4 and we'll just see where it's at. At least I'm not worrying about all the other nooks and crannies now. But yeah, should be right. We should be good, I think. We should be right. I was a wee bit worried about that I wasn't going to have enough, but for 4. But there's about a third more than what I used for the year. So I used about 200 odd mils of paint plus 200 mils of reducer, you know, mix. So yeah, we'll have about 600. So we should have plenty for another coat and a bit. So yeah. So it should be cool. It should be good. Righty, we'll catch you later. Right, so back here. So it's not 100% dry, dead in the centre. But here it looks like it's pretty dry, like I can. So I think we'll be pretty safe to turn it over. I'm hoping. We should be alright, I think. Yeah, we should be okay. It's a wee bit damp in there still. I don't want to touch it right in there, but yeah, it's just a touch sticky in there. I think it'll be okay to turn it over. We should be okay. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, I'm just making sure though, when I pick it up, it's fine. So that's cool. We'll flip it over and we'll mix up another lot of paint. It's about 15 degrees in here. I'll just turn the heater up a little bit more. At least if we get a bit of bake on the top side of it, we'll be right. And we'll turn that over. It should be good to go. It's better read paint than it, so hopefully we should be okay. I'll just move this back a wee bit. Be nice if we could just kick that up like that, but I don't think it'll matter much. I should better get down the line, just blow a little bit underneath that edge just to make sure. But flip it over, we'll mix up some more paint and we'll get her 4-ish coats of colour on here. Just having a wee look. Yeah, it's still a little bit light and it needs another one. I'm not worried about this side, but yeah, we definitely need at least 4 on the other side to get that colour by the looks of it. By the looks of it. It's not far off, it's a wee bit light still. You can see where I might have added an extra wee bit in there. It's a wee bit darker and it's closer match. So yeah, we'll get the phone on tripod and flip her over and smash some colour on it, and then we'll let that go off for, I've been told, about 20 minutes. Hopefully by that stage our heater should have a temperature up, so it shouldn't take too much longer than that, I'm hoping. It should be good. So that's 3 coats. Now I did have some dark spots because I sanded almost through to the black a few spots. I probably really should have coloured them up, but yeah, shows how transparent that paint is. I've got enough in there, hopefully another one. And I just mixed up what was left in the can, which was bugger all. But it was enough to give me about another, let's have a look on here. About another 150 mils, so I just poured what was left in my gun back in there and gave it a stir and just put it back in there. So I'll just let this flash off for a bit longer. Fortunately, this stuff won't go off, so if I don't use it all, I'll pour it back into the can, so what's left, we just won't be able to thin it next time, just in case we have an issue or whatever. But yeah, like I'm going to have fucking basically no spare at all. So yeah, hopefully I can get like 4 coats, a good clean 4 coats or 5 coats on it, just to try and hopefully these dark spots disappear. I didn't really think about it, but yeah, I probably should have just puffed a little bit of primer, extra primer on there and just sanded them back out, but I thought, I know, it'd be alright, it should cover okay. And it should do, I think. They'll disappear, but yeah, there's a little bit of shit in there that's landed. But apart from that, I think we're alright. But yeah, we've got no spare for a fuck up, so What does this look like? Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah, but yeah, we might need we'll definitely need 4. I just hope we don't need 5. We might have enough for 5, but it's going to be pretty thin by we get to that point. But anyway, we'll sit there and let that flash off, and we'll go from there. Right, to me, that's not the right colour yet. It's not dark enough. Is it? Maybe it might be just the light, the way it's sitting. But to me, it doesn't look dark enough yet. I hope I've got enough fucking paint to get it right, or get it close, you know. I hope it doesn't stand out like dog's balls. You know what I mean? It just doesn't quite look dark enough. And you can still see the black. It probably should have been, it would be interesting to know whether that was on what colour base that was on. I don't know. That would be interesting to know whether that was on like a dark primer or a light primer, if you know what I mean, because that can make a difference. They might have sprayed a coat of black on there first and then put the colour over top, if you know what I mean. It just looks different. It looks different. It definitely ain't the fucking same colour. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. Hopefully I got enough there for another one more. Well, we'll let that one dry off for a bit. Yeah, that stuff covers like shit. But it's covered, but barely. And you can still see the black in it. I really needed enough for just a proper coat. I've got basically whatever was in the gun with a little bit of reduce, whatever was in the paint can, and whatever was left in that bottle, I've sloshed around, put it back into that bottle. And what I might do is just mix a little of that into the clear, make up a small amount of clear for start for the first coat, or enough for a first coat, and just blow that on with a little bit of that colour in it. And try and just darken it a little bit, like a poor man's candy. I'll try it. I'll mix a little bit up and I'll spray it on there, because I don't have a lot of clear either. But I do have, I think I should have somewhere down here. One of these has got clear in it. No, it's brown. From when I did that, what do you want to call it? The woodwork. Yeah, I think. Is this the same as that? No, it's different, but it's a low gloss. I wonder if I should mix in a little bit with that. First, try it, spray it on something. I just spray it on the old bonnet and just make sure it doesn't do anything weird. It'll be alright. It's only on a freaking dirty old truck. Like, it's going to get covered in shit, but it just didn't wing. You know, I said to him, I said, you know, get a litre of colour. You know, because you don't know what this shit covers like, if you know what I mean. Some of these things can be funny. Like, it probably would have been okay if it was all a black base. It would be fine. I think it would be darker. I think that's the issue. I bet you that was over a dark base. Whereas this was on a light. Because, you know, I didn't put anything else underneath it. Just straight over the primer, but you know what I mean. Yeah, there's a little bit of shit in it, but just let it dry off and we'll, yeah. I've got to let it completely cure before it, well, not completely cure, but it's got to be dry 20 minutes before I can spray over top, so. I think I'll just mix the clear and just spray it. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. It's just, and barely enough to do it when I've got 5 coats on there to try and get a decent coverage and to get it. It's fucking miles away from there, really. It might look different when it's dry and gets clear on it. It might change. But yeah, we'll see. We'll let that dry off now and yeah, see what happens. I'm not too worried about this because it's sort of half hidden. It's not going to be really obvious, but that's going to be obvious as shit if it's completely different. Anyway, still waiting on it to fully dry off. I just turned the heater around to blow it this direction. Not that I want to force to dry it, but it needs to be dry for a bit, so they said basically it needs to be dry for about 20 minutes before I paint the clear over top. Well, I was talking to them this morning, so I'll follow the instructions. It's definitely not dry on the side. I was hoping when it's dry I might be able to just knock that bit of shit off lightly. Gotta be careful because I fucking don't want to leave any light patches. And it doesn't look too bad now that it's actually starting to dry off. It might be dark enough. I'm hoping. It's the worst thing when you're fucking so skint on paint. Like, they could have given me the full fucking litre, like it would have made a difference. But, oh. Yeah, you always got to allow a little bit for just in case, you know, something just doesn't quite go right. You got to fix something, you know. When you're freaking that skint, you don't have any choice. You just got to fucking go with it. So I actually ended up with a little bit extra paint in this corner, but after I think it was the second coat, I end up with a little bit of paint because I must have come off here and sort of didn't come right off when I changed direction. And then we ended up with a little bit like that, and after it sort of was almost dry, that second coat was dry, I just wiped the thumb across it a little bit and then just gave it a wee flick just to help blend it out. You can't really notice it, you can see there's a little bit there, but hopefully that'll just, when I get a little extra clear on it, that'll flatten out a little bit. There's not much I can do about it. I haven't got any extra fucking fix it, you know what I mean? It should be okay. I'm hoping I can just knock that little shit off there, pain in the fucking arse. Actually, I wonder if that's where that fly was. Because I sanded that off. I wonder if it's just come back through with the paint over the top. Oh, we'll let it dry for longer. Right, I've already put the first just light coat on, I guess you'd call it. I've let that flashed off for a few. Right, I'll get out of here. I'll come back here in a while. Give this a chance to cure off for probably an hour or two. It'll probably be dark by the time we come back. And we'll get that thing back in here. Hopefully just remember to go get fucking fuel so we can pour it in it and get it in. Although we'll have to push it in. I'll bring a couple of bodies with me just in case, and we can just push it in if we have to. It doesn't look too bad. There's a bit of crap in it, but it's alright. Like, really, you could just give it a light scuff with a wee bit of 1500 and just buff it if you really had to. I don't think it'll matter too much. Like, ideally, you know, a booth would be really freaking good. There's definitely a bit of crap in it. There's not much I can do about it. Nature of the shed, trying to keep the fucking heater running to keep it warm enough. Get the clear to flow out. It's probably not too bad for colour. It's a little darker. It's a little darker. It'll be interesting to see it on the car, on the truck, whatever. But it is what it is. Like, I can't do much about it now. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It'll be good enough. But it'll be covered in shit and crap and whatever like that in no time flat. Anyway, we'll bugger off, let that dry. And yeah, hopefully in a couple of hours we can come back and push that car back in. I just don't want to disturb it too much in the meantime. I'd rather leave it alone and let it do its thing for an hour or so, just in case. It's probably not going to be too bad. I'm going to probably have plenty of room. All I have to do is probably move that other piece anyway. But I'll bring a couple of bodies back with me so we can push it in. And that's like, that shows how long too, like sometimes it can take to do a job like that to paint. You know, if you're in ideal conditions, you know, it was middle of summer or early spring or in spring with decent temps, you know, not having to worry about trying to heat the place up or whatever, or if you had a booth, you know, like that would have flashed off really easy in a booth and whatever like that. Sorry, I just put my hand underneath this so it's not shaking. All those sorts of things, you know, like I could have had that done in reasonable sort of time, but it's now just after 4. So I was there a little bit late this morning, or it was a wee bit after 8, but you know, by the time you get the place to warm up, you know, give it a wipe down, whatever. You know, if the shed happened to be cold, you know, yeah, there's a good hour or two to get it temp in. You know, get that first 2 or 3 underneath. You know, then you got to wait a while. Yeah, you got to let it really cure properly for at least an hour or so, especially in those sort of temps. You know, it wasn't real hot then. You know, we had about 15 degrees ish by the time we'd finished spraying. C, I don't know, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. Not terribly hot. It border, you know, alright, but really borderline. So you let that cure off for, I think it was a good an hour and a half before I got back here. And then, yeah, and it was still borderline dry in the centre. But it wasn't dry in the centre. It was dry enough on the outsides, but it wasn't dry in the centre to turn it over. You know, we'll find out when we turn it back, when we have a look and put it back on the vehicle. You know, we'll soon be able to tell how dry it was on the other side tomorrow, and whatever. But yeah, like, it just shows how long it can take, you know, between coats, let it flash, whatever. Like, if you're doing a big area, like a lot of panels, you know, and obviously depending, yeah, you can get away with sometimes in decent heat. You know, you can get around all your panels and then screw around for a couple of minutes and then paint again, because that first stuff you did is, you know, sort of 3/4 flashed off by the time you finished painting a coat, you know, sort of thing. Depending obviously the vehicle or whatever you're painting, you know, you can get away with, you know, hanging around for 5 minutes and then start spraying again, and by the time you get back around to those last pieces, you know, it's been 10 or 15. by the time you get back to it again. So yeah, you can sort of knock those coats out and get quite a few panels painted. But if you're just doing that one panel, or was it one panel and just that little piece, you know, like it shows, you know, you spray it, bugger it off for 10-15 minutes. Like it takes 3 minutes to put the frickin' paint on it, that. Or not even that long, but you know what I mean? It's a minute or so, minute or two, three, put the paint on. By the time you hook your gun up and make sure you get enough paint, mix up a little bit more if you need it, and whatever. And yeah, and then spray it on, then bugger off for you know, 15 minutes or more, you know, even a wee bit more on temps like this. Even though it was hovering around 19 degrees in there when I was spraying for most of that time when I was doing the paint and the clear. It's still, even then at those temps, like it's still just warm enough but cold enough that just, you know, it takes a while to get that paint to flash and go off, and just make sure it's right, if you know what I mean. To leave it long enough that you're not doing weird things, or you know, you're not getting really excessive orange peel because you're putting wet paint on top of a soft paint, and then it's, you know, that paint hasn't got enough to not move when you spray, and all sorts of shit like that, you know. But anyway, yeah, take a while. And it took bloody ages between doing the paint on top, you know, to get the 5 coats on it that I had to put on, and it was everything that I had. It was 4 3/4 basically. It took everything I had to get it on, get enough on to have reasonable colour, and yeah, like I had to leave it for fucking air. It was about 40 minutes by the time I eventually started putting clear on it. So yeah, it can take a while when the conditions aren't ideal, when you're just trying to get it done. Anyway, I'll catch you later on.